I am glad to finally have this series back. Oh, how I have missed you, Hunter x Hunter. I think by now everyone knows how much I love Hunter x Hunter. It is like my favorite series, my favorite shonen. It's one of my favorite manga. I hold it in high regard. It's one of the best series I have ever gotten to read and watch. And I'm glad to finally have it back because just seeing this new chapter here, chapter 361 of Hunter x Hunter, puts a smile on my face because honestly, I didn't expect a Hunter x Hunter chapter today. I should have, but for some reason I thought the chapter was coming out next week, so it completely just slipped my mind, and I was like, not expecting it. So when I woke up to read the Boku no Hero Academia chapter, I didn't expect to see Hunter x Hunter there, and I'm like, yo, my Hunter x Hunter, it's here. And so I was really happy just to be able to read a new chapter of this very, very wonderful series, my beloved series. And it's one of the funnest series for me to actually review and talk about. I've said this many times, it's up there with Berserk and Tokyo Ghoul. That's how high in regard I put this series. So to have it back, like I said, it's great. And I just want to say right now, I know it's kind of upsetting that eventually, most likely, this series is going to go back on hiatus because it's just the thing with Hunter x Hunter. But even if it does, at the very least, we can say one thing when it comes to Hunter x Hunter, okay? We can knock it for hiatuses and all of that, but if there's one thing we can say, is that the quality of the writing and the story is just so good that, honestly, I'm willing to wait for more chapters, because that's just how good it is. So, Togashi, I know you have your back pains. Hopefully they're better. Hopefully you overcome the issues you've had. Hopefully you've overcome them. And just hopefully it's nothing too serious or whatever. So I just do hope that Togashi's back in great health. And maybe he can stick around for a good long while. And if he does go back on hiatus, I guess it happens. But let's just be happy with what we get for now. I mean, let's just be grateful for that. So anyways, to begin, I want to point out something that I was able to find out after I was looking back and reading the previous chapters. That was the only reason how I was able to know this certain little detail. So I want to show you the volume cover, okay? This is volume 33 of Hunter x Hunter. Now, hopefully you can make this out. Here, I'll put it in and out for you guys can see it, because, you know, the zoom-in quality of the camera, so hopefully you can see that. But basically, this is volume 33 of Hunter x Hunter, the latest volume that came out, like, last year? Yeah, it was last year. When the last time that, you know, Hunter x Hunter had chapters coming out, this is when it came out. And I want to point out something, okay? Look at the cover real quick, and look what you see on the cover there. Now, I think everybody already understands what I'm getting at if you've read the latest chapter, but there's a dolphin here. And think about, you know, what happened in this chapter, what was revealed in this chapter. Well, Kurapika revealed a dolphin. He revealed his index finger has the ability to steal other people's nin abilities, but also the shape of it is like a machine dolphin. So that's pretty cool, and I like how Togashi hinted at that on the cover from the previous cover that we got last year. Just very nice stuff, and at least it makes this volume make a little bit more sense now knowing why he put a dolphin on the cover with Kurapika. So anyways, with that being said though, it just, I'm really happy with how good this chapter was, and it was so good, honestly, I had to go back in typical Hunter x Hunter fashion when I reviewed this series. I had to go back previous chapters and kind of look at what was really going down. So, I'm kind of going to do a mock review / reminder on chapter 360 for everybody can kind of get a hands-on understanding of what led up to the events of this latest chapter. Now, to kind of get everybody up to speed, as we remember, in chapter 360 of Hunter x Hunter, it was revealed that all the individual queens, the ones that had their own child and all that, and they're a part of this selection who could be the next king of the kingdom and all that, basically all of the queens, they have their select bodyguards. The oldest queen has a lot of bodyguards she can personally trust, while the newest queen, she has no bodyguards she can trust, and she's not even informed of how bodyguards are given to her from the other queens to watch over her. So as we found out, our main queen we have been following that is protecting the little princess, or prince actually, because even if they're a girl, they're being called prince in this arc. Basically, our main, you know, prince we've been following, and the mother, she's been given bodyguards to watch over her that are not from her selection. For instance, it's bodyguards from the previous queens. So she has no one she can definitely actually trust at all. And and so the only people she can actually trust are a select few, which is revealed in, you know, the last chapter and also this latest chapter of Hunter x Hunter, chapter 361. So basically, that is why the bodyguards have kind of dwindled quite a bit, but also it explains how, you know, the bodyguard situation is handled with all the other queens. There's some bodyguards that they just cannot trust at all, and they are informed of. The only queen that didn't know of this is the one that is with Kurapika. Now, let's explain the spirit beast, the little mouse hamster thing that was following around one of the bodyguards in last chapter and then ended up being captured in this chapter, and Kurapika took his Nin ability. So, as we know, that's a spirit beast that was given to all the different princes, and a lot of the princes, or all of them, are completely unaware of this beast that's attached to them, this spirit beast that is, you know, a parasite sucking their Nin up. And to kind of clarify more on spirit beast, if you have forgotten, remember, spirit beasts are separate from the host. They are completely separate entities, and they don't necessarily do what the actual host wants. So if let's say I had a spirit beast, okay? I might have one, I'm completely unaware I have a spirit beast. The spirit beast could go out of its way to harm me. It can hurt me, and I can't do nothing about it. I can't control it. It can do whatever it wants. If it wants to kill someone, it can kill someone. I can't stop that because it has its own mind, its own goals, or whatever it wants to do. It's separate from my being. So you cannot control the spirit beast. But the spirit beast is born when, you know, you take that little spirit inside of you, like that egg and all that, what we saw with the ritual a while back. When that is given to you, that little egg, and it's born within you, the spirit beast that comes out is a representation of your personality. And the shape of it to the abilities of the spirit beast is from the person that consumed the egg. So let's say I was a rotten individual, someone that was just evil and went on a mass killing spree or whatever. My spirit beast would represent that. It would represent that cold and bloodthirsty side of me, and that's what it would look like. It would probably look like a monster, but also it'd be a monster where it'd probably even want to kill me. So that's how a spirit beast's personality is formed, but also the looks of it. So if you have certain things you're attached to or what you envy, maybe that's what the spirit beast can look like, but also the abilities it has could be because of whatever you are, what you find interesting or whatever, what, you know, your personality is about. So that's some clarification to the spirit beast, which I will get into later on in this review. But for now, though, let's talk about, you know, chapter 360. Not the newest one, 361. Remember, I'm doing a refresher. Now, in 360, we had it to where the dude that, you know, got possessed by the spirit beast, not the prince, but the dude that was like, you know, what is this thing? He's like, I'm not free, and he was constantly being questioned by this creature. It's like, are you free yet? Are you free yet? And eventually he says, I'm free, and then, you know, he attacked Kurapika at the end of, you know, chapter 360, and then began the newest chapter, 361. So basically, him saying he was free caused the creature to take over his body, and he wasn't able to do anything. He had to listen to whatever favor this creature asked, and he was at its mercy. So that's kind of giving a refresh there on what was happening. Now, before that did happen, there is something that we found out too, is that these two bodyguards, besides Kurapika, they are loyal to this queen and also the child and all that, this prince. And one of them now are out of commission thanks to the newest chapter, and the other one is pretty helpful, but Kurapika manipulates him, which I'm going to get into, so let me explain that. Basically, at the moment of before the stabbing, before this dude killed someone and was, you know, his body's being controlled and all that, Kurapika and this dude was having a combo. They were talking about, like, okay, the safety of, you know, the prince and the queen and all that. If you're really loyal to this, you know, prince and queen, you should think about their safety, even if it means getting them out of this selection and all that, who could be the next king. And so the dude comes up with an idea of 3 possible courses of actions. For instance, okay, we can do plan A, plan B, plan C, and he was talking to Kurapika about this. So when the next chapter starts, 361, we understand why Kurapika asked, like, so if one of your courses of actions was it involving the other dude that can turn into a boat or whatever. So that's to explain what happened there in chapter 361. So anyways, I think I've kind of clarified everything that needs to be clarified, but there is a couple other things I want to bring up from other chapters in the past, like, you know, Chrollo and Hisoka's fight, and talk about exactly the nin abilities that were used and how it's relevant to the latest chapter. So anyways, let me move over into the latest chapter now and talk about that. Okay, so with the chapter, it opens up with a color page, 361. Beautiful, by the way. Yes, I know Togashi doesn't have the best art of all time, but it still looks nice. I like that gritty art style of Hunter x Hunter color pages, and so instantly going to be thumbnail most likely. So, just a very nice cover. I like it, and let's begin talking about the chapter. So, the chapter opens up with the dude being controlled by the spirit beast, and he's just attacking. And, you know, as I already said, he's killed someone and all that, and right now, he's just a maniac. He's willing to kill anyone right now, and he can't really control his body at all. So, Kurapika uses his ring finger to actually make this man where he can't move. He incapacitates this dude with his ring finger, and it puts the man down. He wraps around his arm, and then shoves him to the ground, and then, you know, disarms him. The dagger goes, you know, flying out into the open space and hits the ground somewhere. So basically, Kurapika has incapacitated where he can't move at all. Now, when the conversation begins, obviously he's asking about the 3 methods you mentioned earlier. Like, okay, what's course A, B, and C? Like, do we need this dude at all to be able to escape from here and save the prince and queen? Do we need this man? That's basically what Kurapika is asking right now. Do we need this man right now at all costs? Like, can I go in and kill this man and it would be fine? That's basically what Kurapika was asking this dude. Like, is he useful at all to your methods? Now, the big thing here is from what we get, is that this man is being controlled, which I've already said. But Kurapika goes along the lines of asking the dude, like, okay, I know you're his friend, what type of nin abilities does he have? What's his nin ability? How does it work? That's basically what Kurapika asked his friend. And obviously in the Hunter x Hunter verse, you don't reveal that. That's like something you keep under wraps. Like, okay, it's like Chrollo and how he has his skill hunter book, how he has so many abilities, but he only says the things he's required to say with his restrictions, and he'll keep everything else under wraps if he can. So, a lot of hunters, they hide their nin abilities. They don't like to reveal certain ways of how they work or their weaknesses or whatever, and they only tell their trusted individuals how their nin abilities work at all. And so, obviously, if someone came up to you and says, so how does your nin ability work? They're normally not going to say jack shit. They're going to be like, fuck you, no, I'm not telling you shit. And that's why the dude gave Kurapika, like, an odd expression, like, I'm not going to tell you, like, without his approval, because it's kind of messed up. It goes against his trust as, you know, his friend, but also it's just a hunter thing. You just don't reveal your abilities like that. And so, Kurapika's like, okay, if you're not going to tell me, then I'm just going to straight up manipulate you, which I want to explain that. So Kurapika manipulates this dude. He straight up manipulates this bodyguard in this chapter to reveal the information on his friend. I think his name is Sarid or whatever, how you pronounce his name. Basically, he manipulates this bodyguard to reveal information. And the reason how he does this is by bringing up, like, okay, we need to solve this quickly, and aren't you trying to, you know, make sure the king and queen, or, you know, the prince and queen are safe right now by getting them out of here? Or are you just saying a bunch of lies just to make yourself look good? That's basically what Kurapika was saying. Like, okay, so, were you saying when you wanted to protect him and get out of here and all that was a good thing and you were being truthful? Or are you just saying that just to say it and all that? So, Kurapika manipulated the dude. He manipulated how he wants to save the queen and prince to his advantage for he can learn about his friend's ability. Cyrus, that's his name, I see it right there. He found out Cyrus' ability thanks to manipulating his friend. So it shows a little bit of a trait to Kurapika's personality in the chapter. So anyways, talking about the actual ability. So Cyrus' nin ability, is an emitter type nin user. He also can manipulate little creatures the size of a hamster or smaller by shooting out a little ball of nin. So like, a little ball of nin comes out, he wraps it around probably the creature like a Pokeball, so to say. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon. He puts the nin around this little creature, it controls it, and he can manipulate the creature, and regardless of what the creature does, like for instance, if Kurapika captures a hamster, okay, let's just use that for an example. He captures the hamster, he tells the hamster to wander off down the ship or whatever, somewhere down a corridor, and he discovers the Phantom Trope, which is probably bound to happen. That's probably going to happen. I mean, since he now has the ability, he's probably going to discover the Phantom Trope with that, and then he's gonna freak out and go on a killing spree. I can definitely see Kurapika doing that, because of just who he is, but also the way this is being set up by Togashi. But anyways, leaving that topic for now, though, let's say he controlled a hamster and was having it move down the ship or whatever. He is able to understand what the hamster is saying. So if the hamster is listening in on a conversation that's very vital and important, he will know that information. He will be able to listen in, so he can do reconnaissance. That is exactly what Kurapika can do with this ability, which is very useful if you're trying to gain information on the other princes. That's a part of this selection for the next king. So yeah, it's a powerful ability, definitely useful, and Kurapika knows this after he analyzes the ability. Anyways, though, let's talk about the reveal of this ability, of how Kurapika is able to take this man's ability, thanks to knowing certain information. So, to dive into the actual general details, the index finger, which has been hyped up for a very long time, many of us for a very long time have been wondering, what nin ability does Kurapika have in his index finger? Because we know a lot of his chains, they have different abilities. A lot of them meant for the Phantom Trope, as we know. And finally, for the first time, it is revealed what his index finger can do. And it's very funny that this ability that is revealed comes after we see the match with Chrollo and Hisoka. When we saw that match, we found out more about Kurolo's abilities, how he used Skill Hunter, how he used his bookmark, how he would fight Hisoka. His abilities are very similar to what Kurapika just revealed with his index finger. There's some differences here and there, but overall, there's a lot of similarities. It's kind of like Kurapika became the very person he despises and hates. And also, there's some things about that I want to discuss in due time in this video, but for now, let's talk about how Kurapika supposedly can activate this ability. So from my general understanding here of reading this chapter multiple times, like 10 plus times to be exact, I'm assuming Kurapika, he needs to have Emperor's Time activated. He needs to have that activated to be able to use this ability at all. But also, he needs to know about the nin ability. He needs to know about the nin ability, and he needs to know the actual type of nin user. So, let's say he's going to Gone and all that to get his ability. He would need to know what type of nin he uses, like emitter, enhancer, whatever, and he would need to know what his ability does. Like, does it have brute strength or whatever? He needs to know exactly what it does before he can steal it. So that's exactly how Kurapika's ability works, and most likely the restrictions to it. Very similar to Kurolo's, and how he has a lot of restrictions, how he needs to have someone put their hand on the book, how he needs to know the ability and all of that. Basically, it's very similar to that. He has a certain set of restrictions he needs to overcome before he can actually use this ability. But there's a little bit more of a, I guess, easier time of using this ability compared to Chrollo, because Chrollo, he has to talk to the individual and find out about their ability through them. He can't have someone else say it through word of mouth. So there's a distinct difference here, and so it's kind of like, you know, Kurapika's, his nin ability he's using right here with his index finger, it's more brutish. He can just snatch the nin ability without really the consent of the individual he's stealing it from. He can ask an actual friend and would just steal the friend's ability. That's what he can do. So, in a way, he has less restrictions. But at the same time, though, we saw what Chrollo is capable of with his restrictions. I mean, that man is ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, there's some things I'm kind of curious about when it comes to Kurapika's ability here, but like I said, I will get into it later on in this video. So now that I talked about how he sets up this ability to be able to use it, once he overcomes those restrictions, he can snatch the nin user's ability. He puts in this syringe inside of them, around their chest, probably anywhere on their body, and he sucks out their nin. Kind of like how you suck out blood and all that, and the syringe fills up with blood. That's what he's doing, but instead of it being blood, it's nin. And so when he sucks it out, he's sucking out the nin, and he can actually put the person he's sucking the nin out of into a Zetsu-like state, which means is that they can't use nin. It's like sealing their nin. What happened to, you know, Chrollo? How, you know, his nin was sealed for a while. That's kind of what, you know, Kurapika's doing. He's sealing the nin of an individual temporarily. It's not a long period of time. It just depends on when, you know, Kurapika uses the ability he snatches. But overall, though, when he does take the ability, it makes it to where the guy possibly cannot use nin at all, but also he's in a Zetsu-like state where he can't even protect himself at all to begin with. So, when he snatches it, he's only given a one-time usage. So, if he uses it once, the ability is gone. So, okay, let's do a perfect example here. Let's say he takes Killola's. He takes Killola's nin ability, okay, his lightning and all that. He takes that, and he uses it once, okay? He uses, you know, the thunder. Once he uses it, the ability goes back to Killua, and he no longer can access that ability anymore. So, it only has a one-time usage. It doesn't have a multiple-time usage, so there is a limitation here. It's a very strong ability, but there is some limits here to where he can't use it repeatedly over and over. However, there are probably some things that can overcome this restriction, like for instance, if he was to snatch Skill Hunter from Chrollo. As I said, this ability has one-time usage, but I'm very, very, very curious. since I've already talked about how this is kind of like a very similar ability to Chrollo, I wonder what would happen. It's bound to happen knowing Togashi and how he introduced this, and how Kurapika has a connection to Chrollo, how they're, you know, connected in terms of just being enemies. It's bound to happen where these two probably face each other. And I could definitely see Kurapika trying to snatch Chrollo's ability. Just completely take it from him. And what would happen if Kurapika was to snatch his ability? Like, what would necessarily happen? I mean, obviously you would have the ability, but how would it work? See, as we can understand here, is that when he gets the ability, he has one-time usage. But that's the thing, though. When he uses the ability, does that mean that, for instance, let's say something like Skill Hunter, which is a book, can he access all of those abilities inside the book infinitely? Like, okay, he has Skill Hunter, he snatches that, he opens up the book, and he just turns the pages to whatever abilities in there. Can he access any ability in that? And if he can access those abilities, can he use only those abilities, one ability out of all of those? Like, okay, let's say he uses the Sun and Moon thing, you know, the explosions we saw with the Hisoka and Chrollo fight. Let's say he uses that ability from the Skill Hunter book. If he uses that ability, would that automatically negate the book, or the Nin ability? For instance, would it make it to where he used the ability and then the book would disappear? Or when he has the book open, can he use as many as he wants until he closes the book? So if he was to close the book, does that mean that the ability is over? Or if he just uses one ability inside the book, does that mean it's over? But then you gotta go one step further. If he stole Skill Hunter, that means he would have access to the bookmark. So if he was to put the bookmark in the book and then close the book, would the book ability still necessarily be undone, or would it still be there because he has the Skill Hunter and the bookmark? So there's a lot of things there that I'm very curious about if he had that. Like, if Kurapika was able to steal Chrollo's Nin ability Skill Hunter, how would the limits be? What would be the limitations of that ability? I mean, he's able to analyze abilities he snatches through the dolphin, which it analyzed the ability he took in this chapter, so that means it would let him know how the ability works once he takes it, the weaknesses and all of that, restrictions, so he would automatically know what it's capable of. But the big thing here is that would he have unlimited access? And would that mean that once he closes the book, it's not necessarily gone since he has the bookmark? Would he permanently have that until probably, you know, Chrollo dies or something like Hisoka? That's what I'm very, very curious about because of this chapter. And also, there's a lot of this, things about this ability that, like I said, is similar to Chrollo. And even the design of the dolphin is very similar with the cross and all that on its back. It's similar to the book and all of that. So I'm just like, Togashi, I see you. I see what you're doing there. You're trying to set up something here, because you wouldn't have went through that big long fight with Hisoka and Chrollo a couple chapters back and then do this with Kurapika and revealing this ability. There's some obvious setup going on here, just some very obvious setup. And I mean, the differences or the similarities with these abilities as well are kind of scary, honestly. They're very scary. So it's like Kurapika became the very person he despised and hated. So anyways, another thing I want to point out too when it comes to this abilities, you know, I guess, introduction, is we get a flashback, which, oh my god, nostalgic as fuck. So we have a flashback to with Kurapika's old master and all that was helping and training him. And he talks about, you know, Kurapika's style of fighting, how he is as a person, and how he uses his abilities, and also the friends he forms eventually. It's kind of like he's saying what course of action you definitely will take, or have to take in the future, and you need to change things up before you can better yourself as a fighter. So to kind of just dive straight into it, the conversation between these two, it starts off like this. He's like, Kurapika, I know you have your, you know, your abilities and all that, but you should definitely leave one finger without an ability. Because there's probably going to come a time to where you're going to need a certain ability, but you don't have an extra finger to put an ability on it. So it's best to have it to where one finger, like your index finger, is completely free, and then when, you know, time arises to where, like, you have something you can't overcome and you need an extra ability to kind of boost you, then use an ability, or, you know, give your other finger that's empty an ability to use. He's like, I really recommend you not to just get every single finger an ability right at the start. Just wait it out and then see what you need when the time comes. So he's kind of giving, you know, Kurapika some advice. Now, as the conversation continues, he basically talks about how Kurapika, you know, he's one man, a very strong individual, but he can't do everything. It's a standard shonen thing in what you would see in shonen, but Togashi takes it one step further, which I love. But basically, though, he's like, okay, you can't do everything by yourself, no matter how strong you are. You can't do everything, which is very true. That's actually how real life is. He's like, no matter how strong you are, you can't do everything by yourself. And so he's giving advice to Kurapika, and he's like, you need allies. You definitely need allies. And Kurapika responds with, yeah, I'm fine with allies and all that. But then his master replies, but that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I know for a fact you're just going to use the allies as pawns. So he's like, okay, when you say allies, it doesn't necessarily mean friends. You actually are thinking of your allies like pawns, which is kind of fucked up. So that's kind of what we see from Kurapika and how he views the people around him. He thinks of them like pawns instead of friends, which shows the distinct differences between Kurapika viewing the bodyguards and viewing Gon and Killua and all them. So we see a very big difference between how he views his allies and friends, and that's kind of what this chapter was trying to represent, how Kurapika is. He's a loner. He's someone that doesn't want to be around anyone. He's very reclusive. That's kind of what this chapter is revealing. We already knew this, but it's kind of concreting that fact with how his fighting style is, and that he can't overcome everything by himself. His teacher's warning him on that. But Kurapika, he doesn't listen to that. He's like, over time, he's learned that lessons of what his teachers taught him. For instance, his teacher, when he was saying, like, eventually this is going to happen, or this is going to happen, Kurapika acknowledges this and says, yes, I understand. He was very correct and true when he was telling me this, but he's like, it's just not that simple to have allies and all of that. He thinks about Gon, Killua, Leordio, and he remembers that how close he is with them, and so it's not that easy to have allies which are friends, so he makes a core difference between the two, and so that is why he is separated from them so much, is because he doesn't want to use them like pawns, and he doesn't want them to get harmed. He doesn't want to see them die or drop dead, and so he decides to make his index finger, his final one, a way to where he can fight every battle by himself instead of requiring everyone else to help him out. So he continues to have that negative trait of his character to where he doesn't want anyone around. So he's like, you know what, the only way to overcome this is by, you know, using an ability that can snatch any other ability. I can overcome any weakness that I face. So yeah, basically Kurapika, he's once again falling in that line to where he wants to be by himself, and this reinforces that fact because of this ability. So, yeah. Anyways, this ability, even though it's very OP, there's a lot of things about this that make it balanced. Number one, stealing someone's ability, it seems like a strong ability, but at the same time, it's not, especially in Kurapika's case, because he has no prior experience with it. He doesn't have time to train with the ability, and so that means that if it's an ability, like, for instance, he stole in this chapter, to where he has to shoot something, and he can control it, and it's like a little ball that consumes, like, a little creature, like a hamster or something, there's a probability of him missing the creature, and then wasting his only shot with this Nin ability. So, what this means is that because he has no prior training with other abilities he's snatching, he most likely can't use them to the fullest, the 100% maximum output like others can. So that makes it to where it's balanced, because even if he steals an OP ability, doesn't mean that he's going to be able to use it properly, even if he understands it. So that makes it to where he's in the realm of balanced because of how this ability works in the first place, since he only has one shot at it. So yeah, I kind of wanted to explain that. So, with this dude having his, you know, Nin extracted and all of that, him in a Zetsu-like state, what comes to this conclusion is what Kurapika's trying to do. He's taken the guy's ability because, number one, it's the only option available to him, but also he's snatching it from him because he can actually use it if they need it in their methods in the future. For instance, they were talking about at the end of last chapter and the beginning of this chapter, but also it's a way to get the parasite, the spirit beast, away from this dude for he can be fine and live. Now, this is honestly just actually a test, which goes back to the allies and friends, the distinct differences between the two, of how Kurapika views allies as pawns, while he views his friends as irreplaceable pawns, people he cannot throw away that easily. So that's kind of what it's trying to show here, that line, and everybody that's around Kurapika right now, they're more like his pawns. He really doesn't give a shit at all. He's like, I'm just trying to get my objective, my goal, and that's my only purpose right now. And so when he's actually taking this man's nin abilities, it's to kind of further the objective they already set up with escaping the 3 possible options, but also figuring out how the spirit beast works in the first place. Like, if they were to extract the nin out of someone and put them in a Zetsu-like state, does that make that parasite-type spirit beast disappear, or will it attack the person and completely kill them, shatter their mind and body? And that's what Kurapika was testing. He was experimenting on this dude, which is borderline fucked up. Like, it's very fucked up. That's what he was doing. He even admits that's what he was doing. He's like, yeah, I'm doing this as a test, and it's an experiment. I need to know this. This is information I gotta know if we're gonna be fighting people like this, which is very smart, yes, but he's throwing this man under the bus just where he can gain some information. And Kurapika kind of says, like, okay, I know what I'm doing is fucked up. I know I'm manipulating you. But if this happens to me and you're given the option to do the exact same to me, go for it. He's like, I won't hold it against you. I won't put you down, be angry with you. Use me if you have to gain information. So Kurapika's like, look, I know what I'm doing is kind of fucked, but this is a two-way street. That means you can do it to me as well. So I have no problem with it. So that's what makes this fine. That's what Kurapika's trying to say, basically. That's what makes this fine. Why I'm able to throw someone else under the bus, because you're able to throw me under the bus if you want. I will hold no grudges at all. So, pretty good stuff here. Finding out a little bit more about Kurapika's personality and how he's handling the people around him. And the dude's name is Bill. That'll make things a lot easier. Bill. So, yeah, Bill, he finds out about this, and so most likely this might come into play in the future with Kurapika and this dude. So while Kurapika's taking out this dude's ability, his nin and all that, sucking it out, you have it to where this dude's Zetsu-like state and the parasite just comes out of him. It's like a bear hamster-looking thing with spider legs. That's basically what it looks like. It comes out and it tries to instantly just run away. It doesn't attack the user, so that's a good thing. At the very least, from what we know now is the parasite that's attached to someone, or this parasite, it doesn't attack the person without nin. So it'll always stay attached as long as you have nin. Once you lose it, it'll just leave you. It's fucking gone. And so that's what happens. Now, Kurapika, he uses his index finger ability to try to snatch this parasite, and upon, activating this ability with Emperor Time, which is, his eyes and all that, which has to be on to use this ability, so that's very taxing when you think about that. But anyways, when the ability's activated, it instantly analyzes the ability he stole. It tells him the name of the ability, how it works and everything, and probably all the weaknesses to all that type of stuff. The name of the ability's Little Eye, it's a ball-shaped nin. It shoots at, little creatures. It cannot control, conjured creatures by nin. So if it's like a nin beast or whatever, it can't control it at all. So that's basically what it's trying to say here is like, you cannot capture that parasite. It's just not possible for you to use this ability to capture it. So he can't use that ability to help him out at this moment. However, from what we found out is this ability will stay activated as long as Kurapika has this ability out. When he uses his index finger, his Emperor Time is always activated. It will be forced to stay on. Apparently, from what this, dolphin is trying to let us know, is like Emperor Time will be forced to continue. So he is forced to have these eyes open while this ability is out. That's probably the restriction. And so when he turns off, his eyes and all that Emperor Time, it makes it to where the ability disappears. Let's talk about what happens after once he took this man's ability. So the man's chained up and all that. They're trying to make sure everything is fine, and eventually he's turned into the authorities and all that because of what he did. And there's no going around that at all. So now, after all of that just happened with this dude, being handled to where he no longer has the nin beast attached to him, there's only 2 bodyguards left. Kurapika and then Bill. They're the only 2 left, with the princess, or the actual prince, and then the queen. So only 2 left to guard her. And that's kind of fucked up, just to show there was 11 bodyguards, now just 2 left, and they just now have left the port. Only 2 hours since they've left the port, and they're already down that little bodyguards. It's not looking too good. It's not looking too good for Kurapika's team right now. Anyways, though, after all of that is said and done, we shift over to different perspective to Section 12, or area, Section 12 and all that, and we get a little bit of an update status on 2 other princes, or a princess, but they're still called princes. 2 princes, a younger one and then the older one, and they're both actual siblings. Even though they're all princes, these 2 are kind of more related than the others because they have the same mother. So this mother straight up shows favoritism towards her youngest, which is a boy. She's like, okay, what's with all these bodyguards and all that? You're scaring him, you know, he needs a lot of protection. You know, his protection's important, my little boys. Don't worry about, you know, my oldest, you know, my older little girl. Don't worry about her. You know, throw her under the bus. Don't give her that many bodyguards at all. But, you know, worry about my youngest, my son, over her. So basically, the mother being a scumbag of a mother, not caring about her daughter, and caring more about her son than her daughter, which is very fucked up, which might explain some of the reasons of why this spirit beast that was attacking our characters these past 2 chapters might act like the way it does, which I'll get into. So basically, this mother, scummy, and just shows more attention to her young son than the daughter, and the daughter's kind of shafted to the side. And from her personality, from what we can see, is that she doesn't show anger. It doesn't show like she's really, really upset, but deep down, you know she has to be because of her inner thoughts and all of that. But you don't really completely understand her mindset, but we can kind of get an understanding of it because of the spirit beast. So let's kind of analyze the spirit beast for a second before we can understand how this princess or prince is, that is, you know, the older sister to the one that's getting better attention by the mother. So as we know, the spirit beast and all that, they take the personality, like the personality of their individual host, they take that personality and that's kind of what shapes them. For instance, if the personality of a person's wicked, the spirit beast will be wicked. If the personality of the individual is kind of envious of others, then that spirit beast will probably have an envious personality, which is probably what we can get from this right here, this Nimbeast, this mouse-type hamster Nimbeast, which is, you know, been plaguing our characters the past 2 chapters. I'm assuming that this creature, the reason why it, you know, takes over people and controls them when someone says I'm free is because that's the type of character this girl is. She doesn't get a lot of attention. Now, normally when she goes out of her way to ask for something, she probably doesn't get it. And so she's attention seeking. She wants attention, but she doesn't get it. And so this spirit beast might represent that side of her. She wants attention, but she's just not getting it at all because of just how, you know, her mother has treated her entire life. So which explains her spirit beast. Now, going even one step further than that, let's also look at how she is feeling right now. She thinks in her mind of how she feels totally pooped out. Like, she doesn't have any energy, which represents what the spirit beast is doing. It's taking her nin from her. It's completely absorbing her nin, and she's completely unaware of this. She doesn't know that the spirit beast is even there. And the battle's already begun with the individual princes without her being even aware of it and the others being aware of it, which just shows how fucked up this is. Like, holy shit. So this battle's happening, people are dying, and she is not even aware of this nin beast or the spirit beast that is within her and just leeching off of her and causing all of this chaos. So yeah, it's messed up, but it kind of reveals the fact she's unaware of what's going on, and this entire spirit beast has been operating outside of her, you know, mindset. For instance, as we know, spirit beasts can do whatever they want, and that shows it's been doing what it wants without her saying anything at all. So besides that, basically, we move over into the next thing I want to talk about. So this girl, as we know, she's someone that's an attention seeker. She's someone that doesn't have any respect from her mother at all. Her mother views her kind of like an outcast compared to her son. I want to point out something, okay? The little boy, I think it's Mariam, I think that's how you pronounce it, okay? He's the younger one. He's the young prince. He has a little hamster he's fond of. A while back when I was doing my chapter reviews, it was revealed that Mariam has, you know, an attachment to his pet hamster. He loves this little hamster. And what's funny is, in this exact same chapter, when this boy pops up, we found out that Kurapika now has the ability to take control of a small animal the size of a hamster or smaller. So I believe that most likely Kurapika is going to take over this little boy's hamster. That's what I'm assuming. That hamster is going to be used, taking control of. Kurapika is going to be able to listen in to see whatever's going on with this, you know, queen and prince, and maybe also, you know, the other prince or the princess that has, you know, the spirit beast, which can control people if they say they're free. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. That's probably what's going to happen and what that ability is going to be used for, but also could be used for the phantom trope as well, because, I mean, that is a potential possibility. We know the spiders are on board the ship, so it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time to when it does. So, oh yeah, another thing I want to point out, too, is the spirit beast that the girl has. Now, as we know, the spirit beast, it wants attention, which it's, you know, it's saying, like, are you free? I need a favor. I feel like this boy, since he loves hamsters or little creatures, I feel like that spirit beast, most likely this boy is eventually going to be able to sense that spirit beast or see it, and probably the spirit beast is going to take control of the little boy, and he's probably going to die. Because think about how the little sister is. She probably has a lot of envy towards her little brother. I could see the spirit beast probably causing some chaos for this little boy Amaram and trying to kill him. I can definitely see that. That's probably bound to happen as well. So anyways, now that I've discussed that, let's move on to the next segment. So the next segment talks about the final prince, or I'm going to talk about the final prince that was brought up in this chapter. So this prince, by what we've seen so far, he's a very stand-up dude and individual, but one of the big things about it is the spirit beast that is revealed on the final page. Very, very good design, by the way. I just want to compliment Togashi on the beautiful design of that spirit beast. It looks fucking eerie and great. But, as we know, the shape and personality of it comes from its original owner, the host. So, the shape and form of it, it's not looking like an innocent creature. And so, from my understanding here, the way this dude is, either the outer image is very deceiving, or this man has a side to him that is very, very, very fucked up. That's beyond fucked up because of the way the Nin Beast looks, or the Spirit Beast looks. So, with him saying, like, I only participate in the ceremony to save face for you, Father, I don't need a crown won through bloodshed, that could be all an act, him just lying and all that. But then his father just turns his eyes like, okay, like, rolls him, and he's like, do as you wish, and it kind of makes it to where you believe that maybe the father can actually see the spirit beast. Now, we don't really know, but according to what I can see here, it seems like the father definitely can see the spirit beast on his son's shoulder because the way he just gives that expression. So, he probably is like, yeah, of course. It doesn't matter even if you want to be a part of it or not. The games have already begun because your spirit beast will do whatever it wants without your say-so. So it's kind of probably what the father's implying there. But anyways, though, basically, that final form, scary, fucked up. Probably it's a representation of a wolf in sheep's clothing. That could be what the prince is. So who knows? So that's about it when it comes to this chapter. So it was quite a long one. Please forgive me. If you are still watching this, you know, thank you for watching. Most likely many of you stopped watching this video because it got very long, and I'm very sorry about that. But I just love Hunter x Hunter. I love talking about it, so please forgive me. And if you're still watching this, shout out to you. I do appreciate it. And I'm very sorry for the long video. I know many probably don't like that. And yeah. Anyways, you all have a wonderful day or nights wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.